We inherit a story, where you grew up, what your family was all about, your social economic status, your culture, all that combination of who we are, what we're given becomes the story of who we think we are. But there comes a moment in our lives where we start to wake up. There's a fire that's burning inside of you, and you can either decide, no, I'm not going to listen to that fire, in which case it begins to consume you. And so when you start walking a path asking yourself, who do I want to be? Where you actually start to choose in your authorship of the story that your soul is here to experience, as opposed to living in autopilot with the story that you were given.
Welcome to the Swedish Wealth Institute Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Wood, and today I am joined by Celine DaCosta. This is a conversation about storytelling, purpose, visibility, and what it takes to be the author of your own life. This was really cool, this interview, because just before we got into it, Celine had learned that her book, The Burning Ground, had become a USA Today bestseller, like literally half an hour before the call. So what was really cool about this was that, yes, we discussed how do you write a best-selling book? How do you become a best-selling author? But we went a lot deeper, and you're going to learn about how do you use your story? How do you use your beliefs? What have you inherited? What patterns have you been living inside you? And what things have you been choosing consciously and unconsciously in your life? We talk about what Celine calls the burning point, the moment where something inside you knows that the old way doesn't work and it's time to change. So if you want to become a true dynamic force as an entrepreneur, as an author, as a speaker, this is an episode you are going to love. So welcome, Celine DaCosta. We'll start with the congratulations. You literally just learned that you are on the, what is it? Is it USA Today?
Yeah, USA Today. Yeah.
Bestseller list, number 42.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How are you
I'm
feeling?
over the moon. I feel amazing. We'll talk more about it in this conversation, but this is when I wrote my first word of this book in May of 2016. I knew that this book would one day be a bestseller. I just didn't know how, I just didn't know how. But here we are, 10 years later.
Literally a decade later,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much on the dot, and now it is a USA Today bestseller. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So let's talk about that. What does it take to create a bestseller? What have you been doing for the past 10 years that got you here?
Oh my God. That is a very, 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 very layered question. So let me just go with what comes through first, because the short answer is so much.
That's all right. When I get bored, I'll stop you. So
Okay.
you go, and then I'll
stop me when you're bored. Okay. So I think the thorough line of what I have been doing is I have been deeply, deeply devoted to sharing the message that my soul is here to share. And I have found every which way to figure out how I could share this message in a way that felt pure and true to soul, instead of it being something to tickle my ego's fancy. This has been very important to me. And so the entire process of me writing the book, which is called The Burning Ground, and the subtitle is One Woman's Journey to Reclaim Her Soul and Ignite Her Inner Fire. The whole journey of me writing this book and putting pen to paper, or, finger to notepad on the phone.
We'll call it pen to paper. That
We're just
sounds so much nicer,
but
doesn't
it's
it?
really just my thumb on my iPhone notes. And to actually really starting that process was a profound initiation into what it actually means to become the author of my literal story. And what it means to take on the responsibility of sharing my story in a way that would be of contribution to the world and would be in alignment to what I'm here to express on a soul level, rather than it be something that I'm doing so that I can have a lead magnet, so that my business, and there's nothing wrong with that. But wasn't what I was doing. It was not a
And when you say
informational thing.
author of your story, I'm thinking you mean a deeper level than just simply you wrote your biography. It's actually...
it's not like I wrote a memoir. It's like the process of writing this book was my initiatory process to go from being a victim to my story and not
Mm.
understanding why it was happening to me or feeling like I was at effect of what life had to offer me. And I
Mm.
actually had to take a really profound inner journey into understanding that I am the one who writes the story. And the metaphorical writing, like the and literal writing of my story was what taught me how to start to view storytelling, which is what I help people with and have been supporting entrepreneurs and leaders with for the last decade. I had to walk my own path of what it actually meant to really understand like what it is for us to reclaim what we are here to create on a soul level and how to share the story in a way that inspires instead of in a way that detracts.
Right. And so how do you go about figuring out how do you do that?
Mhm. How to do which part?
Well, how do you tell this, well, there's so many parts to it, right? How do you get that message from your soul? How do you connect to that? And then how do you share that in a way that is actually intriguing to other people?
Okay. So I will share that. I'll answer that in the short version. And then the long, detailed version is you actually, like you reading my book is going to answer that
Mm.
question on so
Right.
many levels. So,
So
but
let's yeah, exactly. Let's do
the
there's
podcast
there's
version.
the first pitch, guys. The link will
Yeah.
be in the
No,
in the notes. If you want the answer to the most important question, go get the book.
you will
Now,
have to read the book because it will demonstrate this and
mm,
more. The podcast version is, look, I, I believe that when we are committed and walking the path of an evolutionary journey, of a journey of evolution and growth, which pretty much everyone that is even bothering to listen to this conversation would be on that path. You and I are on that path, right? Like we're listening to each other because we're vibing with
yeah,
this, which is there's a sense of commitment to our path to evolve and grow as souls, to find our mission, to find out what is the meaning of wealth and joy and happiness. Like for
yeah.
those of you subscribed onto this path, this conversation's for you. If you're not subscribed to this path, all of this is going to sound like a
Well,
bunch
you're
of
not gonna be listening to
it's
this
going to be a bunch
podcast
of word
anyway,
babble.
so I think we're
It's going to be
fine,
word
yeah.
salad. So when you are in that commitment, the nature of growth is that you are required, you're going to be asked to step out of your comfort zone again and again and again and again. And so we inherit a story, the story of you before you wake up, which is where you grew up,
Mm,
what your family was all about, your social economic status, your culture. Like there's so many stories that are given to us alongside with their belief systems and everything that comes with, you being Swedish, me being
mm,
Italian, being raised by a single mom, not being raised by a single mom, like
yeah,
in a low income family household, in a really, really high income family household, and all that combination of who we are, what we're given becomes the story of who we think we are based on what we quote unquote know about
mm,
ourselves, about our family, and about the environment that we've grown up in. But there comes a moment in our lives where we start to wake up and ask the bigger questions, which
mm,
is, okay, why am I going to school to be a doctor? Why is it that I'm having all these relationships and they just kind of keep ending up the same? I keep dating the same gal or guy and having similar consequences.
mm,
Huh. Why is it that I go every day and I did everything I was told to do and waking up in the morning, going to the gym, going to my job, and I don't feel any happier than I thought I would having done these things that I thought I had to do in order for me to be successful or to belong.
mm,
And we start to ask these questions. And there's a crossroads, which I call really the burning point.
mhm,
There's this burning point where there's a fire that's burning inside of you, and you're at a crossroads, and you can either decide, no, I'm not going to listen to that fire, in which case it begins to consume you, or you suppress it and you get numb to it. And then you start to distract yourself. And down we go the path of addictions,
mm,
numbness, unhappiness, because we continue to replay the same old story that we've been given and it's just not enough. And you
mm,
know it. Or there's a new pathway that starts to open up, which is how do I take this fire that is burning inside of me, these questions that are burning within me, and how do I actually channel them towards something that could open up a pathway to something greater, even though I don't know what that is. And in that burning point, that is where we start to walk a path where we're no longer an autopilot and at default of the story that we've been given, but we need to start making decisions as who we want to be,
Right.
And when I talk about soul, like, let's just define that, because soul it's just consciousness located in time and space, the consciousness that is you individuated in this time and space. There's things that you want, there's things that you desire to experience, there's an experience that you are calling in so you can know who you are here to be in this timeline.
Yeah.
And so when you start walking a path asking yourself, who do I want to be, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be? What about now? Who do I want to be now? It starts to open a completely different reality where you actually start to choose in your authorship of the story that your soul is here to experience, as opposed to living in autopilot with a story that you were given and didn't question
Yeah.
until now.
It's my favorite quote, or one of my favorite quotes, is the two most important days of your life: the day you were born and the day you find out why.
Ooh, I got chills. Yeah, wow, that's beautiful.
So once you start figuring that out, once you start finding the answer to that question, like, this is what I really want to do. I know you help people put this into play. What do they do? Because a lot of people feel stuck. They've chosen a path. Like, if this moment of realization doesn't happen until your 30s or your 40s, is it too late? What do you say to people?
It's literally never too late. There is, and I've seen this, happen again and again. Like, people in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s. I have clients in their 60s, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God, how did I not know this sooner?"
Yeah.
That's always it's like, how did I not know sooner? Well, you just meant to know when you're meant to know, and it's
Mm.
never too late. But there's always something that we can do to make a change. And this is what it goes back to. A lot of people, my clients, find me when they're in their own burning point and they're
Mm.
ready to actually look at it and walk through what I call the burning ground, which is the name of the book, which is that threshold that you must cross to move from the old self into the new story, the new soul
Mm.
aligned self.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, a lot of people, they're just, when people are looping and just running around in circles, they tend to be right at that burning point
Mm.
when they're like, I need to do something, but I don't want to. I need to do something, but I don't want to. I don't know about this. And the hedging
Yeah.
that happens because you have not yet crossed what I call the conviction gate. Like, you have the burning point, and right after the burning point, there's a
Mm.
gate. It's called conviction. Yes,
Mm.
I'm doing it. I'm walking through.
Right.
And when you walk through that gate, like, authentically walk through it, not just say that you did, but you're really still just hedging around the front,
Yeah.
that gate closes and you're not going back. And that's
Mm.
how you know you've crossed it, because you know there's no going back. If
Right.
you're going back, you
It's
haven't
not
crossed
about
it.
persistence anymore. It's just who I am now.
It's more about, convict. And this is where one of the biggest misconceptions about this space is that a lot of people think they need to suffer, right? This is the quintessential. And
Yeah.
then, I got this terminal disease, and I realized that my life needed to change. And again, that's an amazing story. And a lot of us have that, like, very huge, like, the ground just fell underneath me moment where we wake up very aggressively and very like, I can't believe this
Mm.
death or this horrible thing or this horrific suffering just
Yeah.
happened that made me cross this gate. But
Mm.
you actually can cross the gate. It can be as simple as you having your morning coffee and saying, okay, I'm done. I'm crossing the gate.
Mm.
So I just want to, like, disclaimer, suffering is not required for you to cross this gate. Just
That
it's a
is good.
disclaimer.
Yeah.
It can be done with suffering and pain, and, like, I have no choice but to cross this because otherwise I die. It can
Mm.
also be a, wow, okay, it is time for me to
Mm.
cross this gate. I'm ready, and no drama. Let's go. And so you cross this gate, and then there's just a no going back, and there's an only going forward. And this is the part where in the burning ground, we start to let go of the old identities and the things we were telling ourselves and all the reasons and all of the excuses. They burn away. This is where we
Right.
have the hard conversations. This is where we let go of people that once that we want, that we still love, but maybe are now toxic in our lives. This is where we let go of the job that's been killing us. This is where we
Mm.
let go, we strip naked and we go into the void. And where the reason why we go into this void is so that we can make space and empty ourselves out of the old, so we can make space of what is actually wanting to emerge through us.
Mm.
And on the other side of that, that is where the book gets channeled.
Right.
That is where the TEDx idea comes through. That is where you're like, oh my God, this rebrand I've been trying to do in my business, this is the direction I've been wanting to go. This is where
And
my
this is
clients
the
find
part I
that
find
clarity. Yeah.
interesting because, well, you were speaking about our stories, right? I'm Swedish. In Sweden, we learn we don't talk about ourselves. So we've built the entire Swedish Wealth Institute is built on the fact that we bring the best speakers in the world and we connect people to the right mentor at the right time for them to live their mission. That way, I never have to talk about me. And now my team is pushing me to do a TED talk, and which is going to be really fun, obviously. And I'll tell my story, the losing 400,000 pounds, and how Kim Kiyosaki helped us turn it all around. And now I get to live this amazing life. But how do we make sure that our story actually is of value and interesting to other people? Because as a Swede, this goes against everything about me. I'll happily tell your story because you're awesome, and I can pitch you all day, but I'm not allowed to pitch myself. So how
Mhm.
do we make sure that when I do, it's actually valuable?
Easy. You free yourself from it.
Mm.
That's how.
And how do we do that? Where do we start?
Well, it starts by waking up to the story you've been telling yourself. That's the first step. It's really looking at getting to that place where you're like, wow, I have been telling this story about my life, about who I am, and it's not serving me. Or there's a part of me, when I'm working with my clients, we really actually, I have them literally write out the entire story of their life or speak it out
Right.
loud.
Yeah.
So we look at it like it's a map, right? And we look at all the places and spaces where the energy gets stuck because they're embarrassed, they're ashamed, and they want to hide.
Yeah.
Because all of those places where the energy is getting stuck is all the places that we need to actually presence and look at and integrate, so that you can, because the thing that makes people like get really crunchy and, oh, like even this piece around being Swede, that's a cultural story.
Yep.
That is about, you've been told you can't do this because that's not how it works, because of because then if you are this way, then that means something about you and then you don't belong.
Yeah.
That in itself is a story. And so if we look at your story like a map, I would just literally go and pinpoint, okay, where's that part that where are you, what is it that you're hiding here, right? Like, what's going on here? Oh, I'm really embarrassed about this. I'm feeling a lot of shame about this. There is still unresolved trauma that I haven't looked at around this.
I
And
absolutely love this way you're
yeah.
putting it. I've just been working with our team. We do a lot of internal training,
Mhm.
and we've been working with, so I had Seal Stanford on the podcast, and she works with Alan C. Walter's work on life force particles, which is the same kind of principle about reclaiming that, getting rid of that. So I'm seeing is my team. I had them go through this, and all of them were like, "Oh, this is horrible." You could see all that stuck in their body. It was amazing. Sorry, keep
Mhm.
going, but this
Mhm.
is
But
on
this, what
point.
you're saying is like, people think it's the story that they're telling, but it's actually the places and spaces where you're still stuck somatically in your body that are not allowing you. There's unprocessed emotion. There's something you haven't looked at. There's something you're avoiding. There's something you're skirting around. And
Yeah.
if you continue to do that, then your story will continue to be about you. Because in order for you to actually share a story that is of contribution for others, you need to free yourself from this story being about you. Because
Right.
when you can see that the story of your life is simply like, it is a narrative of your personal mythos that you get to share with the collective. And when you actually like process the story, and what I call it, when you metabolize the story, then you receive the wisdom of the story. When you let go and like when you metabolize an emotion that's unprocessed in the body, the end result of that metabolization, aka that healing, is actually wisdom. It's learned experience
Right.
without the emotional charge. And so you free yourself from the story by actually looking at it, metabolizing, healing it, and letting it go, and realizing the story is actually not about you. And
Right.
then when you actually realize that every single story that you want to tell has such a profound lesson of wisdom that is for other people in it, then
Mm,
that is the story that you tell someone else. The same way,
right.
think about it. Let's zoom it out. Like, think about the stories that you grew up listening to, right? Whether we look at Greek mythology, Roman, insert, Indian, like, it doesn't freaking matter. We have told the same story of the same hero 1,000 different ways. We
Yeah.
have told like the stories, the mythos that actually shape our cultural fabric. And how do we learn values? How do we know? How do we learn how to treat each other? How do we learn any of this stuff about being human? It's because somewhere along the way we heard a story that taught us
Yeah.
that this is how things are. And so if you think about it as like there's a collective, there's a book of stories that we share culturally and as a humanity, well, you are just like one of those books
Yeah.
in, the bookshelf of humanity. And if you're able to actually write that book, so that someone can read it and see themselves in
Mm,
your story because you've done the work to metabolize it. And now all
yeah.
that's left of that story is entertainment and what it is that you have to invite people into. That's going to be
Right.
of service to them. And it won't be any different that me
Mm.
reading Daniel's story is not going to feel any different in my body than me reading the story of Odysseus. You know,
Mm.
it's just a matter of how well it's
We are
written.
very similar, me and Greek heroes. That
Yeah, there you go. This is the
obviously.
same thing. It's just like Odysseus is very, very elegant. Like, it's just a fucking masterpiece, the way that the
Yeah.
Mona Lisa is a masterpiece. But, just you can
Mm.
also do a drawing that's really, really good and it might not be the Mona Lisa. But that's why millions of people
Well,
look at
I
that.
wouldn't do a
You know?
drawing. That we'll leave that to the
Well,
pros.
that's what I'm
But
saying. It's just
let's
how you want to tell it.
you've taken this concept and you've had your TEDx talk, you've had Forbes article. How did you, once you kind of metabolized it and got it ready, how did you get it out into the world? How did it keep getting exposed and attention?
The stories that the Forbes and TEDx, you mean? So here's a really cool thing, and I've had previous iterations of my career where I would teach this day in and day out because I have a it's I hate the word counterintuitive because when things are counterintuitive, they're actually intuitive. They're just not logical. I have a counter logical
Here you go.
say around this because I watched a lot of people push a rock up a hill when it comes to
Mhm.
visibility and sharing their story and putting themselves out there. And this,
Right.
like, a lot of, excuse my French, like mind fuckery around I need to tell my story and how do I tell it and how do I tell it
I'm
in a
gonna
way
have
that, like,
Sagir have a swear counter for you as we go through.
I use it very intentionally. But there's a lot of just overthinking when it comes to how do I get my message out there. And again,
Yeah.
the carrier wave of that overthinking is the very reason why your message is not sticking, which is it's about
Mhm.
you and about what
Right.
you need to say and about how you need to be validated and about how you need to be seen
Right,
in
it's
your
about
experience.
me bragging and look at me and how great
Right.
I was, rather
Right.
than here is the value, here is a lesson, let me share
Right.
this.
Right. And I don't say this as a judgment because I've had my own fair share of having those moments. I think we all
Mm,
have.
mm,
But it's more so in terms of like just efficiency's sake to actually get what you
yeah,
want. My TEDx talk, I did not apply for. There were tons of
mm,
applications and I was invited because someone referred me. Same things
nice.
for my Forbes article. I was invited because someone referred me.
Mm,
With the book, I mean, I don't know if someone referred me, but USA Today is an editorial decision. And so it's not
mm,
even, there's people who have hit the numbers and have just blown past the numbers of what I sold of my book and they still didn't get in. So again, it's all
mhm,
about choice and decision. And to me, my philosophy is that if my story is clean
mm,
and clear being I've metabolized it, I've healed it, and I am sharing a story that is of service to humanity. And
mm,
I have done the work to structure it in a way that makes sense, just
yeah,
like a business or anything that you create. Like, you can create the most awesome product in the world, but it needs to be functional and you need to know how to market it. And you
mm,
need to be able to like talk about it in a way that's clear. This thing is getting out and it's only a matter of time before it gets out because this needs to be seen. And the
mm,
energy that I carry it with is not oh my God, I really, really, really hope that I get on this thing. And then, like, I really need to have it so that I can da 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 da. It's rather like my story is getting out there. Here's where I'm setting my vision and my target. And now let's go. I'm going to start talking to
mm,
people. I'm going to start magnetizing through the sharing my story. And so
Mm.
it's not really a logical, like structural strategy. I did use lots of strategies for lots of things, Daniel, but honestly, it's energetics and it's about
Mm.
using the story to magnetize, which is literally what I teach. And it works.
Let's get a little detailed now then. So
Mhm.
let's help everyone listening kind of do what you did. If this is
Mhm.
their mission, how what would be the roadmap you would guide them to follow?
So the first question that I ask people when they're either thinking about working with me or just about to,
Mm.
because they keep, this the thing is, I want to tell my story.
Yeah.
Okay, why are you not then?
Right. What's
That's
holding you
literally
back?
my first question that anyone
Mm.
that's listening can journal on. And that
Mhm.
is when I start to get what I call in capital letters the excuses.
Mhm.
Well, I'll just share some of the common ones just
Go for it.
from the over the years. I'm not a good writer,
Mhm.
even if it's not just we're not talking about writing, we're talking about speaking and transmitting.
Mm.
I wouldn't know what to say.
Mm.
My story is too intense. My story is not dramatic enough.
Right. I love that it's too intense. My story is
Too
too
much.
good a story. I can't tell it.
It's too much, right? Like, it would
Yeah.
freak people out. I am afraid of what people are gonna say about me.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
afraid of being misunderstood. I'm
Mm.
afraid of being judged, and I'm afraid that I put it out there, no one will care.
Right. Yeah.
Some variation of that, and, if there's anything that
And
doesn't
all of
fit,
those are fair. I mean,
they're all fair,
they're fair fears.
and they are all limiting beliefs, and they're all
I mean,
fears.
that's why I laugh at the one like my story is too good. I'm afraid to tell it. I mean, it's
You'd be
that's just what
surprised.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. And so it's just a collection of fears and limiting beliefs, and I usually, again, I'm not saying it's not valid, right? Like, it's very
Mm.
true that some stories, if they are told, there could be a lawsuit in place. That's right. Like, it's possible.
Mm.
Like, there's some real realities. If you tell a certain story, you might estrange yourself from your family forever.
Yeah.
They're all realities. I'm not tossing them out and saying, "Well, screw that, like, tell your story anyway." But what
Yeah.
I am saying is that it's very important to get very emotionally sober about why you're not telling your story, and you start
Yeah.
there. Because once we look at all of those reasons, my next question is gonna be, "Well, why would you bother telling it?"
Right. Yeah. If all these are true,
Sounds like you've
why
got a
are we
good
having
backup
this
reasons not to,
conversation?
right?
Yeah.
Why are we having this conversation?
Yeah.
And that is where the next batch of, say, very valuable information comes, because underneath there's I want to be visible. I want to be seen. I want to share my mission. I
Mm.
think people need to know this. I think
Right.
people would want to learn from this. I think
Mm.
that this is important so that other people feel seen in their experience. And this is, or, there's also like, this is going to serve my business. This
Yeah.
is going to help other people prevent the same mistakes as me. There's a lot of good reasons. They mostly are good reasons. But what I'm really listening for when I'm hearing people share why they want to tell the story is it's the carrier wave of what they're saying. It's not really the words,
Mm.
but it's about what is it that they think this doing the act of telling their story is going to do for them.
Mm.
And many times, I would say more often than not, what I notice is that there is still a part of this person that needs to complete the cycle of that story,
Mm.
like, that the story has not been metabolized,
Right.
and they wanna tell it because their nervous system's literally like, "I need to complete this cycle."
Right. So rather than them working on it in themselves, they want to project it out.
Yeah, and it's not they're not doing nobody's doing like, I most people are not doing this on purpose. It's a very innocent
Yeah.
human thing,
Mm.
but because in today's day and age, it's very easy to open social media, like, and just tell your story and be validated in that experience. There's no
Yeah.
barriers for you to actually, like, to be able to do that.
Yeah.
What I notice is a lot of times is they think they want to tell their story, but actually they need to make peace and completion with it.
Right.
And so if they actually take themselves through the process of facing parts of their stories that they have been avoiding or running away from,
Mm.
and they actually go and go through that portal and really look into it, then they will set themselves free to share what they really want to be sharing, which is the wisdom that's sitting underneath the story that they can't quite access yet because they're still held by the energetics and the unprocessed emotions of the story. And so a lot of times, like what people will do is they'll be like, I need to tell my story. I need to tell my story. Okay, so tens of thousands of dollars go down the drain with a brand strategist and a copywriter, and you're hiring a PR agency and you're trying to like get the thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's not working, not because that person that person may not know how to do their job and you might have right or wrong. That's all possible. But usually what it really comes down to is this like piece of needing to look at what part of you currently in this moment wants to tell your story so that you can express, be seen and validated for that story, which is actually an essential part of the journey. And what part of you is actually ready to communicate it in service to your mission. And both are important, but one does precede the other because you're going to need to go through the part of being seen and validated and heard in your story in a healthy container. You're going to need to go through that so that you can pop out on the other side and be able to only say the words that matter, which is the words that contribute to your mission. Do you know what I mean? Have you seen this happen when you're on social media and you're like seeing this huge story and it's very emotionally charged and then everyone's like trauma bonding on it?
Yeah.
And then someone's telling their story and it's really just evoking this like it's basically speaking to other people's pain bodies and it's creating a very inflammatory effect, which is effective for going viral and for, there's a time and a place for
sometimes
it.
you even see that in
Right?
the comments. Someone will share their story in response and get, tens of thousands of responses.
Yeah. Yeah. And the bigger question is, what are we really doing here? And that's the question that I would ask, once we really have an honest conversation is, what are we really doing here? What is it that you really want to do? How do you really want to use your story? And when we go through the process of understanding, like sometimes when you really go through a part of your story that you had so much shame about and you heal it, you lose the need to talk about it. Or you find the words to talk about it that don't need to hurt anybody, accuse anybody, because when you're in your power and you're taking responsibility and authority and authorship for your experience, your story doesn't have to be pointing fingers at anyone. It's your experience.
I would love to go deeper into this, but we're going to have to start ending this episode. Luckily, there's this book that we can get that will help us with the rest, right?
Yes, absolutely. The Burning Ground. That's the
Before
one.
we go into the details there and how to connect with you, we always end these episodes with rapid fire rounds. So I'm going to put you in the spot before I let you share the next steps. Is that all right?
Yes. Happy to be on the spot.
Right, cool. I'll ask 5 questions. Just answer whatever first comes to mind. All right. What is one sign of misalignment?
Depends on your human design if you're into that stuff. For me, the sign is frustration. But I do think that depends on human design.
Yeah. Well, me and my friends will sit down with that a lot. It's really fun to go deep into, to be honest.
Yeah. Anger, frustration, dissatisfaction.
Perfect. What is one limiting pattern?
All of them. All of them are limiting until you're ready to grow out of them. Every belief is limiting. Every pattern is limiting. So it's really about asking, the better question is this serving me and how? And if it's not, then it's time to let go of it.
What is a belief that is important to question?
Whether I need to be right or I want to be connected.
I like it. What is one habit that you have that brings you clarity?
I spend the first 30 minutes every single day waking up and speaking to my soul and higher intelligence. I don't pick up my phone and I literally just wake up in the morning and I'm like, hey, God or soul, whatever I feel in the moment. I would like the morning brief. Like, what's going on today? Tell me who I am as a soul. And I listen.
Nice. I'm guessing today was pretty good when it told you're a best-selling author.
I knew it. I wrote it in my journal, a note to my future self. And I literally said, I wake up this morning and I channel the email that I need to write for my Articulate program. And I am elated to find out that I am a bestseller.
And then you opened your email and there it was.
There it was.
What is authentic leadership for you?
The courage to express, to be yourself as the soul that you are, while respecting the room that you're in.
Very nice. So how do we best connect with you now that we have learned and started to scratch the surface?
That's easy. So you can go to my website, www.celinedacosta.com. There you will find ways to work with me, either in a group or private setting. You will also find a link to The Burning Ground, which you can also find on theburningground.com. And you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Celine DaCosta, YouTube, Celine DaCosta channel. But all of that and more is available on my website. So I would definitely start there.
Awesome. And we'll link to all of that in the show notes so you guys can grab it. Celine, thank you so much for joining us. Any
Thank
final
you.
words of wisdom before we let you go?
Final words of wisdom is, in the spirit of everything that we've just shared, have the courage to look at your story and to know that you can write a new one for yourself. And when you really begin to listen to what your soul is here to express, and the easiest way to do that is just asking yourself every moment, I am a soul. Who am I here to be? And the answer will come to you. And if you're willing to follow those footsteps and actually live in accordance to that, then you'll start to see that your story stops being the one that was given to you, and it starts being the one that you're consciously creating every minute of every day. And you get to tell that in hindsight in a way that helps other people. Hooray! Without all the cleanup work. It's awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this interview with Celine. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And it's time for my favorite part of the show, where we figure out what is the difference that makes the difference. Me and the Swedish Wealth Institute team have found 5 key takeaways for you to take with you and implement into your life. So number 1, you are not stuck with the story you are given. So Celine's point is that there is a difference between the story we inherit and the story we are consciously creating. So we all grow up with a culture, with beliefs, with expectations, with family patterns. But at some point, you can make the decision. Do you want to do it differently? And I hope that you take these ideas and implement them into your life, because this is where the change really happens. When you're not just this shouldn't be educational entertainment. This should be something that you can implement into your life. So our second key takeaway is that the burning point is an invitation. So this was really cool how Celine described it. It's a moment where something inside you knows that the old way doesn't work anymore. You can suppress it, distract yourself, numb yourself, or you can choose to walk through it and allow a new version of your life to begin. Number 3, suffering is not required for transformation. So a lot of people believe that they need to have that, what she describes as that burning point, right? It's fire, it's pain, it's suffering. But you can wake up from suffering. Yeah, it can be that moment. But it begins with a decision. You don't have to wait for pain to make the decision that today is going to be my burning point. Number 4, your story needs to be metabolized before it becomes medicine. So this is cool. If your story is full of shame, anger, unresolved emotions, it might be, if you take it a step deeper, it might be about needing validation. If you process the story, the emotional charge can become wisdom. And wisdom is what you then can use to serve other people. So let it work through you. Allow yourself to face it. Number 5, visibility works best when it comes from contribution. This is very similar to what we learned from the last episode with Tara Lafrance when we talked about becoming a TEDx speaker. Celine has that experience as well. Her approach to storytelling, visibility, TEDx, when she was in Forbes, becoming a best-selling author, it's not about just being seen. It's about sharing something powerful, clear, useful. And when that message isn't driven by fear or ego, that's when it becomes powerful. Thank you again for joining us. I have a little special gift, and I have a huge surprise about our next guest, which you're absolutely going to love. First, I want to remind you to make sure that you're subscribed to the Swedish Wealth Institute podcast so you do not miss this next episode. with the legendary John Gray, the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Before I tell you more about that episode, let me give you another gift from us. 2 weeks free access to the Swedish Wealth Institute community. You have the link in the show notes. What we'll do when you click that link and you join, you set up your subscription. It's 27 euros a month. You can cancel at any time, and you have the 2 first weeks for free. What will then happen is you will be discovering and really analyzing, where are you now? Where is it you're going? And what is your number one limiting factor? What that means is you'll get a real, you'll dive deep into yourself and look at, all right, so what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What do I love to do? What do I not like to do? And then what is my mission? Like, where am I going? Why? And what is the end game? And then you'll figure out, what is the one thing standing in your way, holding you back? What is the biggest limiting factor? And then the cool thing is that in the Swedish Wealth Institute app, we will help you overcome that. Our technology can connect you with an accountability buddy or a peer group of friends or the best speakers, teachers, consultants, coaches in the world to help you overcome and process whatever it is that holds you back. And that's what we want to give to you today. So 2 weeks free access, click the link in the show notes. Now, next week, John Gray. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you do not miss this. This was an incredibly powerful conversation for me personally, as we spoke about men, women, masculinity, femininity, relationships, hormones, stress, testosterone, estrogen, communication, and why we keep misunderstanding each other when we're just trying to help. It was a very powerful lesson into how do you make sure that you make your partner feel heard, feel cared about, and how you can use small actions to make a huge difference in your love, trust, and attraction to each other. So it was a very practical, direct, and very insightful conversation. So I look forward to sharing it with you. I'm Daniel Wood. This is the Swedish Wealth Institute Podcast. Thank you for joining us.